I definitely resonate with that. And I always feel like I have, I don't know if obligation is the right word, to like say something as a human being, because we're all reflections and fractals of each other. And so by saying something, even if it's triggering, might be their walking portal needing that information to be reflected back for them to see their truth. So I don't feel like I can always disregard everything unless you, like you're saying, you've shown yourself and you're still getting resistance at that point. But yeah, I feel like I always feel like an obligation as a human to say something, do something in hopes that it will do something for their awakening or a link for their aha moment. Like that's just something I stand and live by until I've beat the bush to like done. And then I'm like, okay, I've seen it. No more energy from me.
Just like what you said, Nicole, it's like in Pandora, and like Avatar, I see you, yeah. I see you. And they don't see me. Exactly. They're not there. They're just like want to see something else. Yeah. And so I haven't even communicated a lot to those individuals about what I'm doing. They probably laugh at me, to be honest. What are you doing? You know, like, I mean, they wouldn't laugh, but they wouldn't take it seriously. They'd be like, oh, she's just doing that, you know?
Absolutely. So I don't really know the situation, but I can tell you a few things that happened in my life that have helped me step into this more. So for instance, people taking care of themselves. My mother loves to drink alcohol. She likes to drink, and that's okay. It was always hard for me because she's poisoning herself. This is going to cause, liver issues and all this. And finally, I just said, you know what? It's her body. It's her life. I love her anyway. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it stopped bothering me. Another example is living the life we live now. A lot of my family members don't understand because they were raised that you have to work a 9 to 5. You have to do this, you have to do that. And I'm not living with that anymore. And it was interesting the other day, I was telling my mom that I'm probably going to be quitting my job because I'm doing this course and it's going to be successful. And I heard in her voice with disappointment in me for not being smart in that decision. But I have to stand in my knowing and in my power that this is what's best for me. I thank you for your opinion and I love you anyway, but I'm doing this for me. So
thank you so much for sharing. Yes, exactly. These are the exact conversations and we all have those interchanges, it's all like, we're all little, like Nicole said, fractals experiencing in our own little breakout sessions,
Josh, remember that time we were having that conversation where I was like walking all over these like big mountainous neighborhoods and I was like out of breath half the time? It was like 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago. And you were talking about how there are some people coming from up to down on this ascension and some people coming from down to up. And that there's just, we don't know where everybody is on their path or why they are where they are. Can you express yourself a little more with that thought on like, and in lieu of what Danielle was talking about? Can you kind of?
Yeah, it's something I heard fairly recently, and it was, I guess, it was actually more of a description of like star seeds versus Earth native, you could say Earth native souls, where there are those who have only incarnated on Earth and they're coming from like they're coming from grassroots level. They're ascending up. The ascension is actually for them. They're coming up. Star seeds are from a higher point, or they came in higher, and they're coming in lower, and they go lower to go to school to learn, to do all these things. But at the same time, they're showing a higher perspective to those that are coming from below. So it's one of these things like we always think about. Even with starseeds, sometimes, or at least I did, like everything happens from the ground up. Like everybody goes through the same thing. But I mean, in an infinite universe, why wouldn't it be that there are some that start from above and then come down, and then like we're in this kind of middle point where we're meeting, and yeah, we're able to. One of the first things, this what resonated with me, because one of the first things the first visuals I got when I got really strong in is, you know, it was going on 3 years ago, but like a visual that I always got was like this hand from like coming up or reaching down to pick up another hand, like that extending of a hand to like grab somebody, like let's say you're like rock climbing and you're higher and you're reaching down to pick somebody up or help pull them up. And like that, just that image, I should make like a flag out of it, because it's just like that was burned into my head for a long time. And it's kind of the same idea where there's some of us are coming from a higher place and we're trying to pull people up, but again, they have to be able to make that journey
themselves. Yeah.
I'm currently just started reading The Halls of Amenti. I don't know if anyone has ever read that. It's very condensed. It's similar kind of like with the Loveland. I don't know if you've read that either, but the whole beginning is talking about, you know, history, where we, you know, different seed points of origins and different agendas and things like that. And it right on spot with what you're saying, Josh, how some people have been here as part of their purpose, you know, as part of, you know, Earth people, stars people are coming, there's agendas coming from they're coming from all over with different, you know, seed points and agendas from their own grander point. And so it really is just like this ever linking all position coming. So that's, again, polarity. You always have to think about that too. And just there's always going to be always a different side too. So polarity, I always think of that too. And I just picture the toroid flowing, you know, it's going to be cycling through always, but you need both.
When you were talking, Josh, I got the image of the infinity sign where it's recycled.
Yeah.
What do you think, Laura? Laura came in with all the tricks, and she came in pretty aware in this world, right? Since you were little.
That's
so
true.
I'd love to hear your perspective.
Man, when I'm in my heart like this, I start to get a little dumb. It's fun. It's really fun, actually. I'm trying to think of the word that Nicole was just using. Yeah, we're all fractals, right? Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you came from, where you are in it. It doesn't matter. What matters is one, in that moment, you know that you created that conversation, It has very little to do with the person in front of you. So you ask, what is the invitation for me in this moment?
So true.
And if it's someone you're close to, you can ask them what the invitation for them is too. Because if it appears that they're getting triggered, like this is where I won't necessarily do that with casual acquaintances, but with friends and family, I'll go, I wonder what the invitation for you is in this moment.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we're all just fractals. So it doesn't matter. I know that's such a mystic point of view, you guys. Like I hear a lot of the metaphysics, and my brain starts to, well, if I'm in my heart, I kind of go, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds great.
Well, when we tend to like to complicate things, but they're so simple, you know. And when it's simplified, you're like, it's like the complication. It just is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't have to be so profound and with all the, you know, mathematical geometry. I mean, as much as we might love that, at the end of the day, it's just is, and it's just fluid and just pure, divine, and just the way that it has to be. And when you can come from that place, it's like, oh, nothing matters. And then you got to get down to that heaviness again, and you're like,
Oh, you think it lasts forever, and you're like, nothing's ever gonna go wrong.
I know. We'll leave this conversation like, oh, you know, and then we'll go into that conversation. I'm like, wait, what happened again?
And then your mind
learn from our lessons.
I know. What did I learn?
I have this overwhelming like pull from my heart to bring up the approval system, which is this amazing theory that Laura introduced to me and Heather. And I've just been sitting on it for a while. I want to write an article on it. I want to do a video on it. So this is a perfect way to introduce it.
Sure.
So Laura, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about your theory quickly of the approval system. And then I want to curtail it to Danielle's story because I have a feeling that it coincides with it, with a feeling, a need to be approved of.
Gosh, okay. The way you can think about this is, I think I've spent a lot of time engaging in the idea of what approval systems am I engaging in? So if you were in a room full of people, imagine if you are there and it's full of people seeking approval from you. And what does that feel like? And then another scenario where you're in a room full of people that you're seeking approval from. I can think of many situations where both have happened to me. What if, and in those situations, can you truly be you? Can you be your authentic self in those situations? And I think most people would say no. I can say no very confidently, no. Now, if you're in those same scenarios and you're standing in your knowing, and you can say this in your higher self is in charge, you're in your heart, however you want to say it, you're standing in your knowing. Do you need to engage in those approval systems anymore? What is the purpose of them when you are in your knowing? So for me, it's an exercise of what approval systems, with like actually looking at all these ones that we engage in and deciding if we want to engage in them at all when we are in our knowing. So for instance, one approval system I may want to still engage in is, I did a really good job and I get a raise. I did a really good job and I got an A. That's an approval system you can absolutely engage in and be in your knowing and have it not feel not great. But then in partnerships, that sounds an awful lot like conditional love to me. When you're in approval system with your partner or with your child. So how can we shift those relationships whilst, one, can I justifiably be in my knowing as a mother and give my kid a hard time about how she's not gaining my approval in some way? And the answer for me has been a very, very strong no, I can't. And so that's informed a lot of my parenting. It also informs a lot of my close relationships. So I think it's very easy for us to shake off the shackle of seeking approval. It is much harder for us to shake off granting approval. And those have been my observations so far. And that is what I'm trying to dismantle in my life right now.
And so Danielle, do you think that this approval system, which you've talked about in your past, we and you share that, where we did everything for our parents, we did everything for praise, and we just did what we were told, right? And then I joined the military. That's approval system, like a mother trucker.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it's like, how is this situation reflecting your need for approval when you were younger? And are you actually upset about this person not approving of you now? Or are you so tapped in that maybe you're tapping into their energy field and picking up their emotions in a situation and thinking they're yours? Because you are the one doing the work and you're the one that points your finger at yourself first.
I think that this individual knows that I'm kind of on the outskirts, like that I'm possibly potentially leaving, and they want to keep me close. And I've heard from others that this conversation's happened. I'm trying to be mindful because I know I have some family members that are going to be participating in this, and I just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings on who this is, but they know that I've expanded. And I think that the hold of the belief system that the family carried is shattered, and they know it, and they don't know how to hold me on to keep me close and make sure I don't leave them. So I feel like having these conversations is just to have that conversation, and it's not even necessary to stir me up. It's just like they want to just tell me what they're doing to keep themselves healthy, and I'm sitting here like, and I don't think they even realize. I don't know what really. I don't think it's really thought out to the level that I'm thinking it is. But talking about the engaging and approval, as soon as you said if I had people over, I do feel like, oh my God, like if I'm hosting, I instantly went into like, oh my God, I got to like service all these people. I got to get the approval from all these people. And then rather than being in a room where I don't really know anyone and engaging, I was like, I just have to engage. I don't have to be like the one. So there's something there that you just brought up in my awareness that I do have a service to certain people that I must still be caring to, because I instantly felt that like, oh my God, I know that. It's almost like a dread feeling like, okay, I got to make sure everything is perfect and everything's right. And they're given this and they're given that. And I know many times, Brian, we've had people over, he's like, just let them serve themselves. Like you have all the stuff that you have, just let them take care of yourself. And I will have family members be like, hey, where's the cups? Here's where this. And it's like clearly all laid out. And he's like, you gotta like, I don't know how to break free, because I guess I've given so much service to them. They still want me to serve them. Even my kids, like they'll come to me and Brian will be right down there. And I'm like, you have to ask your dad sometimes. I need some help. We only know how to come to you, Mom. And that's something we have to work on.
So Josh, how have you dealt with the approval system, specifically leaving your corporate job and the safety net of that and moving into kind of doing your own thing?
Yeah, I think it was the last time I was on a call with all of you, Laura, that you brought that up, and I got to say thank you, because that was actually a big breakthrough for me. I had a moment of clarity where I just realized that money is a form of approval. When we're all, I think almost all of us here are kind of entrepreneurs, so like that money's approval, and I was so worried about creating something that other people find value in, seeking their approval to get their funds, right? So yeah, so I mean, for me, it was a real wake up call, and almost instantaneously, I just realized that I have to find the value in it first. That's what's important. Other people will find the value in it too. I mean, almost everything I've done, someone else has enjoyed it as well, and so it becomes more of an act of sharing the things that I enjoy, and people paying it forward, literally paying it forward, is just kind of like gravy at that point. So yeah, that's been the biggest one for me, is realizing how big of a approval system money is.
And it's a self-worth thing. Approval is a self-worth thing.
And it always is the foundation of you not approving of yourself first. Your work's not good enough for you, therefore you undervalue it, therefore you don't get paid for it, then you get pissed off because nobody wants to buy your stuff.
There's one of the big lessons that I've learned over the last couple of years is giving and receiving being one. So and again, it goes back to it. Don't look at it as a transaction. Look as an opportunity to share. So I get to do something. I get to create something. I get to go through all of the enjoyment of creating something, and then pass it on to somebody else, and just keep that cycle going. So I'm constantly giving and receiving at the same time.
And Nicole, real quick, Josh, that was beautiful. Seriously, I've learned so much from him in just a few conversations that we've had, and I hope that we continue to do that this year, because it's just so many, specifically men, can learn from these conversations because they're balanced in both the feminine and masculine perspectives. And I think that 2023, we're going to see a lot more divine masculines come online and start finding interest in these topics and concepts and stuff. And I think that's why we're being pushed to do these courses and to start coming into coaching, is because we're going to see like just an explosion of consciousness. So Nicole, you come from a Mormon background. Now tell us about your approval system and how you're the renegade you are, and still keep the essence of who you are and be who you are now through all of that transition.
Yeah, for sure. I talked a bit about this on Danielle and I's podcast, and really, I don't know how it's ingrained in me, and I'm just so thankful to my higher self, I love you, that I am just like ready to go with my authenticity. Like whatever is programming on me for some reason. It's not sticking, and I'm just like being myself. And I've been saying the same things to my family for however long, and they, you know, I'm also fortunate and lucky that they could have had more resistance, I guess, too, and I could have had a lot more pushback. So I guess I'm thankful for that as well. But just feeling not necessarily that I have a voice and that I can speak, but the fact that I just wasn't ever putting up with it really, and eventually just doing it so much that to the point now they appreciate my opinion. They're always like, Nicole, we love your positiveness. Thank you so much. You know, like they see it finally, but for a different reason. And it's just like me just been nonstop, just like nothing's sticking. And this is who I'm going to be. I don't know how it's been like that, but that's really been my go-to and it's been working. Yeah.
Nicole, I have to say, like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying congratulations.
Nicole is
so
like,
much.
she blows me away. Just you sharing your story and just being you. Like, talk about someone who I look up to because of your bravery. I mean, you weren't even being, you were just being you, but I feel like that was so brave of you to be who you were since you were a young child, you know, and even though you didn't have to feel like you had to openly share, like Laura said, there are some things that you kept your donut to yourself, but you still stood in your truth and you were not going to let anyone change you and you didn't care what people said. So thank you for paving that way, because that's like, that's a huge strength. I think that a lot of us, like including myself, that has had to build that courage to be like, I don't care because this is who I am. And I guess at one point you just can't go back anyway. You're like, there's nothing else that you can do. This is who I am, and you like it or don't.
That's exactly the motto for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Like, I don't feel like I even realize how much I need to give myself the space, but seeing it, like, thank you so much for seeing that and allowing myself to see that through your guys' voice. So thank you.
We're going on 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up. I was gonna say that was a good ending though.
Beautiful.
The card reading.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Pull a card or two.
And I just want to say something while you're getting your cards ready. I just want to caveat of what something we were talking about earlier today. All right, this interview, and you were talking about how, you know, am I supposed to just accept them for who they are? Am I supposed to cut them out? I've done both. It took me cutting out a lot of people in 2020 and really standing in my lion and just choosing myself for the first time and like really being about what I believed in for the first time and not accepting anything. Now, because I walked through that chariot, I like to call it my little chariot tarot card. The reason that I needed to do that was because I hadn't chosen myself. I kind of hid my truth for 4 years between 2016 and 2020 because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I wanted to do it a different way. I didn't want to talk about politics. I didn't want to talk about the truth of that. I wanted to talk about the truth of spirit, of reality, of togetherness, and of unity, but the world wasn't ready for it yet. But it took me cutting out all these people to gain the strength to finally accept others for who they are now. It was a step of my process. And if I wouldn't have taken that step and had cut out the people I was scared to lose, to see who came back and see who stayed away. If I wouldn't have done that, then I don't know if I could be where I am with accepting people where they're at and also letting people where they're at and then just, you know, go by the wayside. It's okay. I love you. Have fun. Good job. You know, and it's okay. You are where you are. And the more that I don't resist and hold on to those people anymore, the more that I can accept them for who they are, but also not accept them in my life.
Yeah. I've had a few people that I had to also be like, okay, that's okay that you've, you know, left subtly, only one abruptly. But, you know, it is because it's like, oh my God, like that person's not in my life anymore. And then you're like, well, what would we really talk about anyway? I'm this other person that would appear to be like not, I mean, I've always been like that. Here's what Nicole, like I have been this person forever, but I did all these things to fit in. And it was like awkward in a way for me because I'm like, oh, I'm just participating just to be involved. And none of this really, this doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I realized right towards the end of, before I went into this healing journey, like full immersion into my healing. I was still going to networking events and stuff like that. And at this point, it was probably 2019, and I was attempting to stop drinking. I had slowed down a lot, but I still found myself indulging, and I still found myself binge drinking if I got triggered. Didn't realize what the trigger was for a bit after, until a little bit longer. But what I also realized is I had been drinking since I was 16, because I had social anxiety, and it helped me kind of like, call it confidence juice, right? But what I realized was that the drinking actually helped bring me down to where everybody else's vibration and frequency was. And that was the only way I felt I could fit in with the crowds of people that I wanted to be around, was to actually lower my consciousness, my vibration, my frequency, my resonance, and then meet them where they're at. And for a long time, I look back on my drinking, and I thought really bad about it, poorly about it. But I also like to think back now, because I don't do it anymore out of choice. I do think back like how many places that I was in, such dark places, bringing my light and helping people through very dark times in their life, even if it was fueled in alcohol. There was a lot of light that was pushed in those dark times in my life, and I don't regret them, because I was still doing God's work at that time. And I think it's important that we see that if we attribute ourselves as a light worker or starseed, whatever, mission from God, I believe that it's kind of like you got to see that everything you've been through and every place you've been, you needed to be there for God and for yourself. Yeah. And I think that then starts to help you accept other people for where they're at on their journey, because they're helping people too, and they may not even know it.
Absolutely. I think we have to make sure we love all parts of this journey. Like no part of us is bad or good. It's an experience, and that's how we grow. So thank you for sharing that, Ace.
Great.
So I got my cards pulled. You guys got your cards pulled?
I got one.
Got yours? All right. Hold on.
Ace is so excited.
Okay, so
I'm excited for mine too.
Nicholas is big smile.
So for these cards, I asked Spirit what the collective overall will be focusing on for the year ahead. And I got 2 cards. First one is confidence.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And the second one is forgiveness.
Mm.
And so we're going to be coming this year into a period of really feeling confident in ourselves, standing in our own power, putting ourselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness, I feel, is part of healing. I think the collective is going to be doing a lot of healing, and part of healing is forgiving those who have trespassed against you and your sovereignty. And then I got called to pull the crystal for the year for the collective. And it's the tiger's eye.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Which is confidence.
Confidence. It helps manifest.
It's a very protective stone too.
Yeah. I would just suggest people watching to Google tiger's eye and see what resonates for you with this crystal.
Thank you. Nicole, you want to go?
Okay, yeah, I'll go. So my cards are oracle. So mine is harmonic flight. Look, we got the infinity symbol like we were talking about.
Oh, yes, there it is.
Light. And you got dark
Twin
light,
flames.
you got twin flames,
We got it all.
Got it all.
So what my question was, what can we take from this conversation? And so this literally, I'm not even joking. Seeing the divine in the eyes of another, relationships with deep bonds, karmic connection, clearing illusory projections, life-changing connection, transmuting dissonance, removing heart armor, being seen, and teamwork.
Woo!
And the last bit it says here is, when you see the eyes of the other as a reflection of yourself, it may be talking of a close relationship or a challenge that may be illusion or a projection. This card may relate to a family, teamwork, community, or ways we can harmonize dissonance for deeper growth.
Wow. I think that just summarized the whole night, like you said.
That's
like,
what I'm
started off
saying.
with like aces. That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right?
And Miss Laura.
I pulled similar to Heather. just for the collective for the coming year. So I got the 7 of Cups,
The rabbit.
the rabbit
We were just talking
for
about
the year, because we're going into the year of the water.
Yeah, we are the year of the rabbit. We just ended the year of the tiger, by the way. Tiger's eye,
If I
tiger.
remember right, the element that is associated with the cups is water, if I remember right. This is all about abundance and going big with the dreams. You know, the cups are in the stars.
Yeah.
And then Ace totally mentioned divine masculine. So we have the magician.
Mm.
because the tiger's eye goes with the manifestations.
Yeah. And then one of my favorite ones, the world.
Which one is that?
The world.
Oh, the world.
Perfect. Look at all of our projects and cards.
So
I know.
what does these cards mean to you for the collective?
To me, the world is things are coming into completion, into fruition. And so I think a lot of all this work, this just really hard spiritual work that we've done over the past year, like this is the year to get into completion is never, it's never final. We get to go into something else, but I love that idea. And then, man, just go big. All these projects, that little tiny thing that you're thinking about doing, that little dream that you don't think is going to go well, because you're talking yourself out of it, because you're not being fully you. Do it. That's what you do in the year of the rabbit.
Yes. I think that we don't realize how powerful we really are until you start to just go big and do these things. And then when you start to have one win after the other and just being in alignment, there's no going back.
Absolutely.
And success in everything takes momentum.
Yeah.
And the momentum starts with your self-care, your self-love. If you're not taking care of you, if you're not feeding your own cup, you will dry up and you will burn out and you will not have the momentum necessary to build something sustainable with longevity. And that's everything we discuss all the time, is it's all about sustainable success for this new way of being. Yeah, that's what I got to say.
It starts with taking care of yourself, like you said.
And it starts with love, guys. Love is the number one nutrient the body needs to grow and expand is love. And then food and water and sunlight, that's great. But love, I'm telling you, I denied myself love for 13 years and my body almost died. And within a very short amount of time, I'm giving my body love again. It's on a whole other level.
It's where we came from and where we're going back.
Yes.
You got anything for us, Josh? Take us off.
No, you guys said it all. No, I think it's awesome. Like, yeah, that was like a full circle, just wrapped up everything we're talking about. So, yeah.
Feels good.
I love you guys. I really do. Like, thank you so much for taking the time to just share. It really means a lot to me. And I'm really excited for what we're all going to be working on and coming together again.